here we are, less than 24 hours away. A long fall football season will conclude.
You forgot Nick.
And it's Championship Eve here on Delaware Live Sports Weekly, a special championship preview ahead of tomorrow's 4 fantastic matchups at Delaware Stadium. Good evening, everyone. Nick Alessandrini, joined as always by my co-host Pat Garandis, and of course, our family of analysts here. Pat, we've got a great one set up for tomorrow. We've got the right people to talk about all these matchups. It should be a great Saturday tomorrow in Newark.
Yeah, it's been fun, man. It's been a heck of a year. Great broadcast throughout the entire season. Great games throughout the entire season. Less than 24 hours away. I feel like it's Christmas Eve a couple weeks early. I mean, this is always a great day, and I think we got 4 fantastic games coming ahead tomorrow for sure.
We've got some really good ones. So let's, of course, say hello to everyone else. It's been a while, guys. Let's reintroduce ourselves here. Jason Winchell, Glenn Frazier, Mike Lang, and Benny Mitchell. Guys, it's that time. We've had a long, hard fall season here for everybody. All these teams with some fantastic games we've been able to broadcast. But now it's here, the peak of the fall football season tomorrow at Delaware Stadium. First off, Benny, Mike, Jason, Glenn, how are we doing today? Benny making the trip to Middletown, but
not as bad as it'll be tomorrow.
That's right, you'll be right back up.
But we talked about Championship Saturday is the second most exciting weekend of the year. Obviously, the state wrestling tournament is the most exciting. But yeah, this is right up in there. Yeah, I look forward to this weekend. 4 great games. We got a little bit of everything in it. We got 2 undefeated teams. Somebody's not going to be undefeated after tomorrow, and then. You got your conference, your old Henny North matchup, and then you got the downstate, upstate thing going on. So it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow.
It's going to be a lot of fun again all day in Newark at Delaware Stadium. Mike Lang, you've done a decent amount of games here throughout the year. Of course, you're at games every day. I know you're kind of transitioning into basketball season and some other winter sports, but we're going to conclude football tomorrow. What excites you the most about tomorrow afternoon?
I'm looking forward. I want to see the rematch, St. E's and Laurel. I cover Catholic stuff for my main job, and so I know the St. E's kids real well, and no rooting on the sidelines, but I want to see how they respond after last year when they lost to Laurel. So I want to see how that goes, and I'm really excited about that 2A game, the 2 undefeated teams with Tattersall and Carmen. I think that's a matchup we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah,
but that one I've been looking forward to since the semifinals ended last Saturday in the mud.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's St. Mark's High School down at the Graveyard. And I heard that was quite a day down there in Wilmington. Glenn, glad to see you back here. Of course, you had your fair share of games as well. You've been calling games left and right, I feel like, the past few weeks. And one of those teams being those Smyrna Eagles that you've had a chance to check out all season long. They are really starting to get hot at the right time. But that's going to be a good matchup with Dover tomorrow as well.
Yeah, Benny alluded to it, the old Henlope and North matchup. Actually, it's the first time ever 2 Kent County schools will be playing for a state championship. And only the 3rd time ever that 2 old former Henlope teams have played for a title. So, yeah, looking forward to that. But look, more importantly, man, I did both semis in 2A because you had a little excursion out to, how cold was it in South Dakota State?
It was the coldest I've ever been. I was 9 degrees. That is the coldest I've ever been. The -9 degrees. It felt different. I tell you, wind, yes, the wind chill.
Yeah,
and when I got back here, it was like in the 20s. I thought it was summertime. I loved coming back here to Newark.
It's a dry cold.
It is. Yeah. But again, Delaware unable to get that win against South Dakota State. But a great season for the Hens, and they'll look to get back at it next year under head coach Ryan Carty in his 2nd season. So the Hens make the round of 16. And Pat, your St. Elizabeth Vikings back in the state championship. The last time they held that trophy up, you were wearing maroon and gold. You had a chance to check out the Vikings a few times this year. That is going to be a great matchup tomorrow with Laurel, a rematch of what we saw last season.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, when we break it down, we'll hear from both coaches. Obviously, we'll get a little more in depth. But yeah, man, I'm proud of my alma mater for sure. They got their hands.
Yeah, that's for sure.
They got their hands full
Yeah.
with the Bulldogs, but it should be fun. I think all 4 games, and especially the 3 tackle football games, are going to be fun to watch.
I agree with you there, Pat. And of course, Jason Winchell. Jason, welcome. Here we are on a Friday. eve of 4 fantastic games tomorrow. As always, I'm sure you'll be there all day, ready to go. Just talk a little bit about what you're excited for tomorrow.
Yeah, no place I'd rather be tomorrow than
Exactly
at
right. Us
the
too.
stadium all day for 4, like you said, fantastic games. I'm really looking forward to the day, 4 great matchups, and we'll see who comes out on top this year.
Yes, we will. Again, less than 24 hours away from Championship Saturday at Delaware Stadium in Newark. We're going to take our first break of the evening. When we come back, we're going to talk Class 1A final. You're also going to hear from both coaches in just a little while. We'll be right back on DLS Weekly, your championship preview.
Couldn't be more excited about having our show here held at the Buffalo Wild Wings and Christiana location and here on Route 7.
Probably seen this a lot, but not all pest solutions come from a can. At Active Pest Solutions, we don't spray and pray. Professionalism and continuing education sets us apart.
We are Quality Pro certified, the mark of excellence in pest management.
And we have an associate certified entomologist on staff.
Providing environmentally sound solutions to our customers.
Our proactive pest plan offers the best pledge guarantee in the industry. We do what others don't.
Active Pest Solutions. Call or visit us online today. It's active without the E. You've probably seen this a lot, but not all.
Looking to stay cool this summer?
At Barclay Heating and Air, we're dedicated to keeping your home comfortable year-round.
Family owned and operated, we provide trusted residential heating and cooling services to customers across central Delaware. Our experienced technicians offer reliable maintenance and repairs on all major brand HVAC systems. From air conditioners and ductless systems to heat pumps and furnaces, we also sell and install top quality units. No matter your needs, we're committed to getting the job done right with honest and timely service you can count on. Invested in our community, we're proud to help families in more ways than one, sponsoring and donating to many local programs and organizations throughout the area. For dependable HVAC services, give us a shout or a bark at Barclay Heating and Air.
For over 15 years, our company has been building homes in Sussex County, Delaware. We offer a completely comprehensive program for our customers that makes building a new home enjoyable. At Capstone Homes, we have access to lots in our amazing communities or through our realtor partners. Visit with our team of professionals for a completely comprehensive experience. We can handle absolutely every part of building a new home for you and your family. Create your new home. Create a Capstone home. For over 15
Back here, DLS Weekly State Football Championship Preview Show. The whole panel's up here. The helmets are up here. We're ready to rock and roll. It's going to be a fun day tomorrow. We're going to start this one off. Mike Lang.
Yep.
10:30 a.m. tomorrow. We got ourselves our first of 4 state championship games at this unified game. Hype us up, man. Get us ready to go.
First of all, that's kind of early, but
yeah.
No, I'm kind of getting used to getting up a little earlier than I have for most of my adult life.
Right.
And rest of my life. It's going to be Newark Charter and Cesar Rodney. So if you know, and we're going to stream that one. Right? Nick, we're streaming all 4 of them. So it's a fun.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm going to say relaxed. These are pretty serious athletes out there, but it's a lot of fun to watch. Obviously, getting more people involved in the game, boys and girls. It's an awesome experience to watch. And they get to lead off the show. So there's no reason not to come out to Delaware Stadium a bit early, get settled, and check out the Patriots and the Riders.
That's it, man. Bring your coffee. Get ready to go.
I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but
it's going to be cold.
It's going to be cold, so grab your hot chocolate and get there early.
I should wear my thermal shorts, is what you're saying.
You should.
Over under, I like
wear leggings.
Leggings?
Put your
What is this, the 80s? Yeah.
Bring the
So it'll be fun.
Yeah,
so we're
that
going to
should
start
be
with
a
you
good
five.
one.
I think last year they were the second game, but this year they're leading off the
And
show.
it was a
so-
good
And
game.
one
I
thing about
think
the
it was
Unified
Smyrna
is
Dover.
Newark Charter's won a couple titles already
they have.
Unified. But when we first started doing Championship Saturday, they were all wearing old varsity football jerseys, and that's not okay. They bought them all. All the teams have their own uniforms now, so it has come a long way. I know that my son has a couple of his students that are in this game for Cesar Rodney. He can't be there, but he wanted make sure I told them go Riders for tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, that's Caesar Rodney family for sure. And again, if you didn't check out last year's Unified game, that was I think it came down to the final couple plays in that one. That was a lot of fun. So again, make sure that's the first one, 10:30 a.m. That's going to get things started on Championship Saturday. And then following the Flag Unified Football Championship, we had the long-awaited title rematch between number 1 Laurel and number 2 St. Elizabeth's in Class 1A. These two guys have been on a collision course what seems like all season. Everyone waiting for this matchup, Pat. It's round 2 of the Vikings and the Dogs.
Yeah, it's highly anticipated, and a lot of returnees coming to this game. It should be good. And Nick, we spoke to both of those coaches, so we're gonna hear from them. We'll come back. And we'll give our thoughts.
Here with Coach Joey Jones. On our way to Saturday, I guess one good thing.
Well, it seems like, and I'm hoping that we get the nicest weather game of the day. You know, get to high noon, you get decent. It seems like it's going to be, but it's difficult. Kicking off.
Championships.
The stats and they play as a team. That's to the a good chance on Saturday.
Now they're going to see somebody they haven't seen before. Kasim Benson. I don't think he got to play much last year, and he has torched the earth this year.
Well, it takes a team effort, and that's the good thing is that, you know, that's how we play, that's how we prepare, that's what we play as a team. He will take care of you. And Benson in scout team, so it will be an adjustment, but again, team defense and 11 hats to the ball should give us a chance there.
Now let's talk about your offense. It goes through Caden Shockley. He can throw well.
Coach in the huddle and at the line of scrimmage.
And Kylie Wilson has been big in the program over the last couple of years. Talk about
physically and just as a leader of this team. You know, he wants to be in there. He's on the field. He so
rise and score. Differences in these two offenses.
Well, there are differences, but I think at the same time, you know, we want to put the ball on the ground and we want to run right at you, and they're the same exact way. You know? And they've got more than just Benson. They've got some other guys that can play too. So, you know, they take it in chunks. We're going to grind it out, but keep pushing on the ground, punch you right in the mouth, and keep
going. 50-50. Some said Laurel will win it. Some say St. E's will win it. I don't know that would put money on St. E's this year, so they're kind of. You guys have to deal with maybe overconfidence. How have you dealt with that?
And, you know, we've known these kids for a long time. They've played here for a long time, and just be who you are. Be the foundation you set here. You know, as freshmen and sophomores, these were the guys out there, juniors and seniors. On now, since they've known who you are, you know, ride with the foundation they've built and allow your ability to take care of business when you get an opportunity to. Who's picking who, you know, because as I said, box score look like the regular season. I don't feel like it does often, so it's going to be
Joey Jones, the Laurel Bulldogs and coach.
And welcome back inside Buffalo Wild Wings Middletown location. It's your DLS Championship preview show ahead of tomorrow's championship football games at Delaware Stadium. Sorry, some technical difficulties going on with some of the coach interviews. We'll see if we can play that again later and also tomorrow before the broadcast, as well as maybe uploading them individually here tonight. We'll wait and see. But guys, let's dive in to this 1A matchup between number 2 St. E's and number 1 Laurel. Mike, let's talk a little bit about that St. E's. They're getting there with that 46-35 win over Seaford. You've had a chance to check them out multiple times this season. What kind of stands out? What stood out to you in that game, but overall about this Viking team that's making their way back to the championship for the second consecutive year?
Well, obviously it starts with, depending on which jersey they're wearing, number 1 or number 3, Kasim Benson. He's had 2 weeks to recover some more from his sprained ankle injury, his annual sprained ankle against Caravel. And he looked really good against Seaford, ran for almost 300 yards. Chris Character, 9 carries for 181 yards. They don't throw a whole lot. Character can catch. They also have Mikey Downs, who's a good receiver, but they don't throw a whole lot. They do rely on their run a lot, and they have some good guys up front. Country O'Neill is up there, Jackson Benjamin, Steph Goodman. Carl Taylor lines up as a tight end or a lineman, depending on what they're trying to do. So Carl wears couple different numbers.
A couple different jersey guys.
Couple different jersey guys. Yeah, they're mix and match over there on Broom Street and or Cedar Street, Pat, or whatever street we happen to be on. But they run a lot. They've got decent size up front. I know Laurel's big, so that's, can they get that push off the line to get Benson and Character free? And Gavin Andrews. That's what it's going to come down to for them on offense, and then on defense, can they stop Kylie's Wilson and the rest of the Laurel offense? And like I said, Laurel's probably a little bigger than them up front, and that made a big difference last year. And we'll see how the Vikings react after a year basically to plan for this.
That's right. Again, a full year from when they met last time in the state championship. Pat, one thing, of course, that's going to be maybe the headline coming in is for the second consecutive year. Kasim Benson, how is he feeling? Is he healthy? Looked great in that semifinal against Seaford. A little bit hobbly near the end of that game. How important is that he's 100% tomorrow?
Huge. And when we get to the interviews and you guys get to check these out, Coach Lemon addressed it, right? He's a special player, over 2,000 all-purpose yards on the season, 32 total touchdowns.
I think that's before playoffs.
It is. It's an insane number. Numbers that haven't been touched there at St. E's really since the Pattons, and one of their assistant coaches, Craig Napier, did it as well.
I remember that
back
name.
when we did win that championship. So he's healthy. Last year he was hobbled up. Not to make excuses, right? And that's what Coach Lemon even says in the interview. Not making excuses. We lined up. We played a game. It was a competitive game. They ended up beating us. But this year, he's the type of guy that if Laurel isn't able to contain him, it's a difference maker, right? And he's going to be full go this time, not hobbled and slowed down. So he's a special player. He's going to be a guy he's going to be an X factor in the game without a doubt. But like Mike alluded to, they got some other guys that can make plays with character, and an X factor could be junior quarterback Cole Soto. Are they going to be able to run the ball and try and at least have a little bit of balance in their offense? We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening.
And again, Chris Character, big-time receiver for them last year, doing a lot of his work on the ground this year, as Mike alluded to. Has 8 catches for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns, but 30 carries this year, 363 touchdowns on the ground. Had a huge game on the ground running the ball in that semifinal win over Seaford. Jason, when you look at the St. Elizabeth's team, you had a chance to check them out as well. What really stands out to you about the Vikings here in 2022?
Well, let me just start with the defense side of the ball. You got Eric Big Country O'Neill. He leads the team with 65 tackles, 13.5 tackle for losses. So they will get in the backfield. They will force some pressure. Also, Stephen Goodman, 9 tackles for loss. So they'll get in the backfield.
And those, Jay, are in games where they're not playing the full game.
Yeah,
exactly. That's half of football sometimes.
Yeah. So they're, but I think they're going to have to be big because this Laurel offense can score, and they score a lot, and they do it against some very good teams. So their defense is going to have to be key, I think, in this one to be able to stop that Laurel offense.
And Benny, Laurel, let's get to those number 1 seeded Laurel Bulldogs coming off of that impressive state championship last year, ending that drought, coming into 2022 now with, it seems like, even more confidence than they had last year. They've run the table. They've looked fantastic, beating teams in different classes. Just talk a little bit about head coach Jones and these Bulldogs, everything you've had a chance to see this year.
Right, well, you talk about them going undefeated. They beat 4 AA teams. One of them being Delaware, one of them being Woodbridge. Teams that they've not been able to beat in the past. This year they beat them. They beat them handily. When you talk about Laurel, you got to talk about the defense. This defense has allowed 1 touchdown a game on average. 1 touchdown a game. We're not even going to get to the offense. It's the highest scoring offense in the state yet. Right? You know, their kicker, Mike Gonzalez, has 1 more point than the defense has allowed. He's got 80 points kicking. They've allowed 79 on the season.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
So
Let's get it done,
That's
man.
pretty good.
And they bring pressure. If St. East can't get the running game going, you got to do 2 things with defense: coverage or pressure, and they can bring pressure. All defensive player of the year, All-State, 2-time All-State, a linebacker, Evan Collins. He's there. He finds ways to get in the backfield. 91 tackles, 16 for a loss, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions coming out of linebacker. And then they great ends. They get across the line. They contain you. It's going to be interesting. I think one of the big keys to look at is mid-third quarter, and is St. E's hands on hips yet. There's 10 guys going both ways. Yeah. Their entire offensive line is going to be going both ways. And that's hard to do because, where St. E's scores in a flash, Laurel takes 7 to 9 minute drives, and that can wear on you. A half of about 3, 7 minutes, 20 minutes of somebody pushing you, that can start to wear on you in that third quarter. So let's keep an eye on that tomorrow. Let's see that St. E's line, how they look mid-third quarter. Let's get to the offense. It goes through Caden Shockley, and it goes through Caden Shockley. Yeah. He's second in rushing. He's at 713 yards rushing this year. Passing this year, and he's at 785 yards rushing. He scored 10 rushing touchdowns this year. He doesn't throw a lot, 20 for 33, because they've really not been in a position to have to throw. Right. But when he does, he's averaged 21.6 yards per pass. So he can unleash the ball. He can get it downfield. He also plays defense, 34 tackles, 4 interceptions on the season. He's got 2 pick sixes from the safety position. And then Kylie's Wilson, he is their guy. He's a 2,000 all-purpose yard guy, 1461 on the ground, 24 rushing touchdowns, 4 catches, 3 touchdowns receiving, 4 kick returns, 4 touchdowns. Wow. So we might have number 2 versus number whatever Benson's wearing. You have 2 guys with 2,000 yards and 30-some touchdowns each. But Laurel can come at you in different directions. If you watch them, they got 2 good wing backs. But the guy I want to see, and if Joey Jones is listening tonight, unleash Patrick Bell, the setback. He's a guy that's he's missed a lot of first halves this year. He's come in the third quarter, doesn't get a lot of touches. This guy, he could be the guy that St. E's isn't paying attention to because he doesn't have the stats. But I tell you, when that guy gets rolling, he did it in the Delaware game. I'm telling Coach Jones, unleash Pat Bell.
And again, last year, right? You had Javier White and Wilson as that 1-2 punch. We'll see if he becomes the 1-2
that was the punch last year. They really haven't used Bell much this year.
So we'll wait and see. That's something to look forward to. Glenn, let me ask you this, though. Is it more important, or who is it more important for, Benson to have a good game for St. E's or Wilson to have a good game for Laurel?
The former. Definitely Benson, and like the other guy said, especially Pat, he was banged up last year, and we saw that in the final regular season game when he played against Caravel.
Yes.
I think he lasted a half a quarter, and he re-injured his ankle, and he just was not himself in that championship game. And again, no excuses, Laurel was a better team on championship Saturday last year. But Benson is definitely, I think, a more important key in the game, because if he doesn't get going, it could be a long day.
It will be.
For the Vikes.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Pat, here to close it out. You had that weather last year, a rainy, coldy, windy nightcap in that game last year against Laurel in St. E's. You already gave your X factor. What area are you really looking forward to, or watching here in this matchup tomorrow, and what do you think would be the deciding factor?
Yeah, who's gonna stop the X factors, right? Obviously St. E's has got more guys to keep an eye on. Their ball's spread out a little bit more for Laurel. Are they going to be able to bottle those guys up? And like Benny said, are they going to be able to do it for 4 quarters and stay fresh? And then for Laurel can you contain Benson? Last year, you had maybe a 75% Benson. This year, you're going against maybe a 95% Benson. Are you going to be able to contain him? They've contained guys all season long. As Benny alluded to, they challenged themselves with 2A games. But it's a championship game, a championship environment. Teams a lot of times play up will St. E's play up to this game and challenge Laurel in this one? I think that's going to be the key for them.
One of the things Joey Jones says, and you can hear it on his interview tomorrow, I'm going to put it up, is those numbers look nice, and they get kids all state, but throw them out tomorrow.
Seriously.
Look at your national championship games, look at your Super Bowls. They just don't happen that way. He said they're ready for a tough, tight football game tomorrow.
Oh, man, I'm fired up, ready for this one. 12 o'clock p.m., the first padded football game tomorrow, St. Elizabeth's and Laurel. A rematch of last year's state championship game. Should be a great one tomorrow afternoon at Delaware Stadium. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk Class 2A final between two undefeateds. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Congratulations, Dover Federal, on 60 years in business in Delaware. You've been by our side since our doors opened.
Thank you so much for giving me a call on so many years ago when I had no credit.
You helped our business grow into what it is today.
As a military family, thank you for supporting the financial needs of servicemen and their loved ones.
Happy anniversary, Dover Federal Credit Union.
Happy anniversary, Dover Federal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Local people, local decisions, Dover Federal Credit Union.
Congratulations, Dover Federal, on 60 years in business in Delaware. You've been by our side since our doors opened.
Thank you so much for giving me a call on so many years ago when I had no credit.
You helped our business grow into what it is today.
As a military family, thank you for supporting the financial needs of servicemen and their loved ones.
Happy anniversary, Dover Federal Credit Union.
Happy anniversary, Dover Federal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Local people, local decisions, Dover.
At Ferris Home Improvements, your family's comfort and safety is always our top priority.
If you call us for your roofing, windows and doors, siding, decks, kitchen, and bathroom needs, you can expect health-screened craftsmen who wear gloves and face masks and follow minimum 6-foot distancing, virtual conferences to discuss project details, job quotes delivered electronically or brought to your door for your review and approval, and our showrooms in Newark and Rehoboth Beach remain open for limited appointments.
We're here together.
Operating with precautions.
To protect our staff.
And our customers.
And welcome back to a special championship preview edition of DLS Weekly. Nick Allison Jr. alongside Pat Garanis, Jason Winchell, Glenn Frazier, Mike Lang, and Benny Mitchell. And now it's time to talk a little Class 2A final here at the Middletown Buffalo Wild Wings location. This one, again, like the others, has a chance to be one of the best of them all. The number 3 undefeated Friends Quakers taking on another undefeated and the top-seeded Caravel Bucks, of course, the top seed in the entire tournament. Let's first, guys, take a look at some of these semifinal matchups, Glenn, and that was Caravel over Archmere, 30-6 behind a big second half.
You know, we talked this year and last year both about the depth of Class 2A, and we were really looking forward to close games in the playoffs, especially quarterfinals on. And in the semifinals, that game was not close. It was close at halftime, about as close as you can get. 1 yard separated the two in total yardage. And Archmere got on the board first, Albero with a touchdown pass, and then right before the end of the half, Caravel scores and ties the game up, and then they take the lead on the extra point. We thought, Pat, I know it was Chris did the game with me, and we thought we were in for a fantastic finish. Caravel dominated the second half. They bothered Albero all day. He couldn't find time to throw. When he did, he kind of got pressured, and I think he only threw like 4 interceptions all year coming into the game. He threw 4 in that semifinal game.
Very uncharacteristic.
And DeRegis ended up being our player of the game. He picked off 3
That's
of
right.
the 4 passes. What a dominating performance. Caravel's defense, I will put them up with how dominant Smyrna's defense is in 3A. That's how dominant they are in 2A.
Oh, absolutely.
Not a whole lot of weaknesses. And then you had the other game with, we did the semifinal, Pat and I, with Wilmington Friends. I don't think it was at the graveyard. I think it was in the swamp. No footing whatsoever. No. And it ended up hurting the home team more than it did Wilmington Friends because they had speedy backs at St. Mark's. They couldn't make precise cuts. They were slipping, couldn't get any momentum going when they hit the line of scrimmage. They were done. 52 yards of total offense. The entire game for the Spartans, and they got 43 of that on consecutive passes in the fourth quarter from Chase Padalano. That's how dominant Wilmington Friends was with the advantage they had playing in the mud because you just feed Tattersall. He could just dive with that body of his, that 6'5" frame, and he's going to get you 3-4 yards a pop. And that's about what he did. 56 offensive plays, 53 were a run or a pass from Robbie Tattersall.
Okay. And again, we'll dive in a little more about, maybe what that means for tomorrow. But he gets as much work as maybe more than anybody else in the state. You talk about Benson getting his 30 carries a game. Yeah. Tattersall's right there with him, Pat. He's right behind him.
He is. He's a special talent. And this Quakers team, and I know that you guys hop in when you want, they're under the radar big. Mm-hmm. Like they got about 9 guys that are 6'4" plus. That's a lot of length on the field, and they're hard-nosed kids too. I mean, Robbie Tattersall's not getting touched till he's 3 yards down the field. From what I've seen, the few games that I've seen him play now. Up front, they get the job done, and they got length at the receiver position, at the defensive end position, and in the secondary and linebacking core. Makes them extremely tough to move the ball on, and then they chew clock with Tattersall run, Tattersall right, Tattersall left. Occasionally, we'll give McKenzie the ball a little bit.
Tattersall up the middle.
And that's to keep them happy. Andrew, you got one run.
Going back to that semifinal, just watching Tattersall. I mean, he's a mutter. He strides. He doesn't make cuts.
Yeah.
He gets the ball. He makes one turn. It's a right turn or a left turn, coming off the edge, and then he's gone. And that kid, he doesn't look fast, but nobody's catching him.
No.
Yeah, and he's getting up and down the field. First of all, who had Friends Caravel on their dance card in September?
I don't know.
Not me.
It wasn't me.
Our colleague Bill Harmon told us. Yeah. It's like, guys, I'm telling you, man, we're squeaking by. We're squeaking by.
Yeah. We were talking Howard, St. Mark's, DMA. And these two guys just quietly made their way to the top. I think it's going to be a good game. Now, that mud took away St. Mark's speed. That's not going to happen tomorrow on the turf.
Yeah.
And again, Caravel, they have some weapons on the offensive side, very efficient offensively. But both defenses have been fantastic all year long. But, Jason, there have been few defenses like this Caravel Bucks defense so far this year. I think maybe just, 1 touchdown per game defensively for them. They've been fantastic. I want to say 4.9, I think it was, points allowed or something along those lines, Glenn. They've been fantastic, Jason.
Yep, and what they did against Archmere was impressive to me. Seeing it firsthand, that Archmere offense has put up some points, and their passing game was impressive all year. Caravel took them out of their passing game.
Albera, one of the best quarterbacks.
Yeah, and they struggled. And what they did is they did it up front with that line. That pressure they put on Albera made all game long. There was just not any windows for Albera to throw into.
And Mike, we've had a chance to do Friends a few times now this year. Yeah. I mean, what do you think is going to be the storyline here? What is your X factor? What are you looking for when Friends, of course, meet tomorrow afternoon with Caravel?
Well, I hadn't seen Caravel before last week, and Glenn kind of misled me. He said that you got to watch this guy Craig Miller, and I get there, and Jordan Miller's doing all the running for them, and just as effective. Friends has that size. They got Croc and Heron and Zawadzkis up front. Tattersall, he's a brick wall. They got to be able to stop these guys. And can they stop that running game from Caravel? I think that's really going to be a big key. I also think, when you talk about close games, you got to talk about kickers. And Friends has one of the best in the state, Alessio Christianetti Walker. Yeah. We saw him kicking in the muck last week. Well, like Benny said, that's not going to be an issue tomorrow. His feet were 2 inches under mud and water last Saturday rather, and so we'll see if Christianetti Walker is a difference maker.
Yeah, I was
going to
say
they're such a big team.
35 out of 37 on extra points and 7 out of 8 on field goals. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah, looking down at some of the stats, Nick. I mean, Tattersall's another 2,000-yard guy, right? 6'5", he's 6'5", 210. That's the first thing, is the length and the size. 1,400 yards passing, 16 touchdowns, over 1,200 yards rushing, 14 touchdowns. 42 tackles, 6 sacks, and 2 big blocked kicks on defense.
He's also their punter.
And then, like we said, Hudson Zawadzkis, he's going to be a receiver to keep an eye on. He's 6'5", 190. I mean, they got it all over the place. 500 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. We talked about Andrew McKenzie.
Yep.
Every now and then, we'll hand the ball
sprinkle
over
him in there.
12 touchdowns.
He's got 12 total tutties. He's got 500 yards rushing, Jay. They get after it. And then on Caravel's side, Truman Award is one of these other guys that I've seen that's made strides. A lot of
That's something
quarterbacks.
you've talked about all season long.
A lot of quarterbacks this year have really grown. You look at his numbers. 58% completion percentage, almost 1,500 passing yards, 19 touchdowns to 1 interception.
That's the big one, right?
That's the key.
Taking
Don't
care
turn
of
the
the
ball
football.
over. Yep.
He's huge for that.
And the Miller thing, Jordan Miller missed 5 games this year to injury, so he's only played 7 of the 12. He still almost has 1,000 yards rushing, and he scored 9 touchdowns. And he had the game. I mean, he was a little guy, scat back, a lot of speed, hits the hole with a lot of acceleration. Craig Miller was the blocking back for him last week in the game, and Craig during the year made first team all offense in 2A. So, I mean, he stepped up when Jordan was missing games, but right now Jordan is the key guy. And we can't forget about Pat's special hitter, Mackay Carmen. On
Fantastic, right?
First team all defense 2A. He hits harder than anybody in 2A that I've seen. And he sprung Wingo for that long catch and run on the touchdown pass. Yep. He's the one that laid the wood, and JT Wingo was the recipient. And he'll tell you, Wingo told a couple of people in an interview, if Mackay Carmen doesn't make the block, I don't get the touchdown.
And again, Mackay Carmen, one of those guys, definitely to keep an eye on tomorrow. A chance to check him out.
We're not talking about the elephant in the room. What's up with the kangaroo?
That's right, marsupial.
Yeah.
That's the Quakers' new mascot. Benny, you're right. We buried the headline.
Yeah, it's the X factor right there.
I'm watching the semifinal game like, why is there a kangaroo on the sideline?
I don't know.
I love it.
Maybe we'll find out for your broadcast tomorrow night.
We got to do some work
deep.
tomorrow during the day. Get in touch with Jeff Ransom, the athletic director, and find a real story. I was out yesterday watching Caraville basketball, and I talked to Mark Tobin.
They're missing Mackay Carmen, right?
One of missing not only Carmen, JT Wingo, Owen Robinson, and there might be one other basketball player. And Mark, who's always good for a quote, said, for all the practice they're missing, they better win a state championship. So,
ton of wrestlers on that football team too.
By the way,
oh yeah, and I think
Caraville basketball won by 28, so they did okay without those guys. But that's a pretty good basketball program they have. What I think is surprising is Caraville, the first championship appearance since 2012.
Yeah, that was back when Darnell Savage was out there playing for them. They beat St. E's that year with Andre.
I was going to bring that up. And in Friends, just the one state championship in school history in 1984, back when I was in high school because I'm old. And
that's
so
the only independent conference team that's ever won a title.
How about that?
How about that?
There you go. Again,
reached into the bag for that one.
Yeah. This one,
I got a long pair of pockets.
Yeah, this one is a pick 'em for sure. Jordan Miller, Craig Miller combined for over 2,000 yards. Glenn talked about the missed games, of course, for Jordan, who got a boatload of that work in last week's semifinal. Benny, we talked about some of these other guys getting carries, Benson, 30 carries a game, etc. Tattersall might have more carries this season than everybody else. I mean, it's just that true. And they run him 30 times a game, quarterback power, quarterback sweep. He's been taking hits. Is there any little wear and tear to worry about with Tattersall?
That's a big kid to wear and tear on, I'll tell you. We talked about how the offense goes through Shockley. I mean, times 2 here. If he ain't running it, he's throwing it.
Yeah.
Right. You know, he's involved in the offense, 90% of the offense? He's either
and I'll say this. What the Quakers have done this year has been impressive. I think this is going to be the biggest challenge for them, and it's appropriate that it happens in a championship game.
Absolutely.
But I think this Caraville defense, if anybody can make them try to alter away from Tattersall right, Tattersall left, it's going to be this defense.
I agree with you.
So I'm
in a battle of 2 coaches that show no emotion.
Yeah.
That's true.
And it's
Tattersall and Reed, neither one show any emotion on the sidelines.
At St. Mark's, I was up on top of the press box. Glenn, you were in, and Pat, you were in the press box, and you can hear, and it's not just at St. Mark's. Every Friends game this year, you can hear the people in the stands yelling, "Just stop number 17." I mean, it just sounds so easy, but
way easier said than done.
Robbie's a load, man. He's another basketball player, by the way, who's going to be suiting up for the Quakers in a week or so. But he's got some unfinished business try to take care of tomorrow. But I know Caraville wants that just as much.
Yeah, he really is.
This
Again,
year, going
that
up so
Tim
excited.
Tebow of that offense. He can
That's
do
it.
it all. And their passing game, again, flies under the radar. So efficient, explosive. They have those big plays. They'll hit you with a couple powers, and then it's a jump pass from Tattersall for 60 yards for a touchdown. This is going to be a great one. Some other names to pay attention to. Colin Herron, of course, as Mike mentioned, on that defensive line is 5 sacks and 53 tackles. He's been great all year long. And, of course, talk about Mekhi Carman on defense. But Bryce McKinnon and Brock Rhodes, those linebackers are going to do a lot of sideline-to-sideline work tomorrow.
Another guy to keep
against
an
the
eye out for,
Quakers.
Ishmael Dobson for the
Yeah.
Quakers.
Big boy,
Tight
right?
end.
Oh, yeah, big
Flex
dude.
out. He had either a touchdown or a touchdown called back. A touchdown against St. Mark's, and he had a touchdown called back in their quarterfinal game against Lake Forest. So he's a guy to keep an eye on. He's a tough cover, and he's got good hands out there.
Another big target. He's 6'4".
Yeah,
They got some big boys
Yeah.
on this
Yeah.
team. Jason,
And
before we
then-
move on, what's your X factor? Go ahead,
The
Mike.
speed and Jaden Willie.
Yeah, I mean, and Jason Hughes across the middle, right?
That's
He'll
right,
take
Hughes,
the top
number 10,
off.
right.
Jason, what's going to be your difference here? What are you looking for to be the X factor in this one?
I would like to see the special teams games because I mentioned the Friends
Tattersall,
kicker.
2 block
But
punts.
Keld is just as good for Caravel. I mean, he's been really strong all year, made some big field goals in some of their close divisional District 3 games. So I just think special teams could be the key tomorrow.
It very well could be. There you go. The Quakers and the Bucks, Caravel versus Wilmington Friends, battled the undefeateds, a combined record of 24-0. Well, that changes tomorrow afternoon in the Class 2A final. We're going to take our last break here on DLS Weekly. When we come back, we're going to preview the Class 3A championship. We'll get right there when we come back.
I'm Chef Hari Cameron. At Grandpa Mac, pasta's our thing. We serve quality food fast that's not fast food. We make everything in-house and serve something for everyone. We're open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner. Follow the noodle to Grandpa Mac. I'm Chef Hari Cameron. At Grandpa Mac, pasta's our thing. We serve quality food fast that's not fast food. We make everything in-house and serve something for everyone. We're open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner. Follow the noodle to Grandpa Mac.
Welcome back in, ladies and gents. DLS Weekly's High School Football Championship preview. Tomorrow is going to be a special day. We got one more game to talk about. It's a highly anticipated one in the Class 3A championship game. This game will be taking place 3 p.m. at Delaware Stadium. It's a rematch from a game earlier in the season. The Dover Senators under Coach Chip Knapp and the Smyrna Eagles getting it after it. They've been impressive throughout this game. Smyrna may be the hottest team in the state, fellas. Defensively, they've been there all year. Offensively, under Brian Wright, that offense has really started to pick it up, Glenn. And it was a game that was played earlier in the season. But this game, these two teams have kind of continued to excel after that matchup.
Well, yeah, Dover's kind of been a little bit hot and cold, and they were last year too. But Benny did the revenge game in the playoffs when they shut out Sussex Central and flipped the script because Sussex Central shut them out in the regular season. And they did it with Tyrone Abrams.
Yeah.
I think Abrams was the key running back in that game. It wasn't Jaquan Kilby. He
Right.
was the difference, right?
Well, we found out after the semifinal game that the reason Abrams hadn't been running the ball, he had a broken hand. And they weren't comfortable with him carrying the ball. They're comfortable now. He's had 7 carries and 6 touchdowns since he started running the ball here late in the season.
Yeah,
How about that stat?
He scored 5 touchdowns in the 2 playoff games.
Right.
But you're right, he was casted, and they just had him play defense for most of the season. He really missed the offensive side of the ball, and they just got him going, like you mentioned, in the last few games. All kinds of storylines. I mean, the first time 2 Kent County schools have met in a state championship. You've got a coach who spent 30 years, Chip Knapp, at Wesley College. He coached Mike Judy, who was the center for Wesley back in the late 90s and early 2000. That was his coach. And he told me a funny story. He said, when Judy played for us in college, he was a young kid, but he was quiet. He didn't say a whole lot, kind of shy. He said, so the second year he comes back, expects to be the starting center, and we recruited a kid and brought him in. And as soon as he saw him, it lit him up. It lit a fire. Nobody's taking my spot. And Mike Judy grew up right there in front of Coach Knapp's eyes.
That's a good story.
That's a great storyline, too. And I mean, these two have so much respect for each other. Coach Judy calls Coach Knapp the chess master. He's just a chess player. We'll see if the chess master has anything up his sleeve, because he's lost 46-21 this year, almost the identical score last year in the semifinals, and he's 0-3 against his former center and the kid who played for him back in college.
Sure.
Chip Knapp is ready for this ball game. I asked him, I said, hey, last time Dover was in the championship game was 2001. Your kids in this building weren't even born yet.
That's us. Told Tyron Abrams about that.
Yeah.
It's like, congratulations, you're going to the championship. You weren't even born the last time. And most of the parents, the last time they won a title, were children.
Exactly.
They were 3 to 5 years old.
Yeah. So we asked him about the atmosphere around the building, and he said, well, it was 2 weeks. It was weird having that extra week off. And he said the first week everything was kind of quiet. Not a whole lot said. It started to amp up this week in championship week. So we'll see. It sounds like what he's telling me is his players are just workmanlike, and they're going to go out and just play with house money, because that's what it's going to be for them. Everybody's on the Smyrna bandwagon.
Well, and you look at it was an impressive 48-14 victory over St. George's, but let's not bury the lead here. What Smyrna did to Middletown 2 weeks ago. Did anybody 48-0?
No.
Where did that come from? Where did that come from?
Well, Pat, that's the thing, right? Me and you have been talking all year long, as we all do, about certain things. But I think I asked you, 4 or 5 weeks into the season, once they really started to get going, I said, is Smyrna as good as they've been looking recently? And you said, yeah, they are. And what it starts with was that defense, as you alluded to earlier. That defense has been unbelievable here the second half. I mean, that says it all. 48-0 shutout of Middletown, who has so many weapons offensively. And then you talked about Brian Wright and the growth that he has had all season long. You add that offense into that defense, you're tough to beat.
You're right. And that game started to snowball for Middletown. That's one of those when it rained, it poured type of situations. An avalanche hit them, and they didn't know how to handle it. Those two schools, the last few years, it seems like there's a lot of chirping. There's a lot of talking through the media or through social media, and it gets them amped up, and you could feel it in the stadium that game. And Smyrna, like we talked about, like you said, Brian Wright, the development of him into the passing game to be a counterpoint to the run game that was already strong with Markel Holman and Ymir Knight has been a difference maker.
Yeah, fantastic, Mike.
And they didn't really even use Wright in the passing attack in the Middletown win.
No.
It was all Wildcat. The earthquake formation. I think he passed 3 times the whole game. He didn't complete a pass. Now, will they need him tomorrow? I think tomorrow's a different opponent, and it's a different scheme, and I think we'll see more of Brian Wright tomorrow. But when you talk about the defense, how about this? 140 tackles for loss.
Oh, my God. I mean, that's...
And it's not an easy schedule.
No.
They didn't play an easy schedule.
Not at all. And that's the thing. They've been so impressive on both sides of the ball, Jason.
And 0 points allowed in 2 playoff games.
Right.
98. 98-0 in the 2
One of the better
games.
stories in this game is Nasir Snipes Guzman.
For Dover.
Yep.
He, midway through the season, he's told his season's over because his temporary waiver had been basically revoked, and he had to have a hearing, and he had to wait a month to have the hearing. Their bye week comes in the last week of the season, so his first playoff game, his first game back was Sussex Central.
Yeah.
And he was talking to him after the Sussex Central game. He almost didn't come back. He was ready to quit. He was so upset.
Yeah.
And it was teammates that gathered around that kid and got him back out there, and he's been huge in these playoff games.
He was big in that game we did earlier in the year, Glenn, right before that happened.
Yeah, he was. And a side story about him, I saw an article in the paper, I believe it was Andy Waller in Delaware State News this week, that Guzman is part of a team, a group effort that is raising money as like a Toys for Tots kind of thing, gifts for kids. a great story there with him. And there's a Smyrna player, too.
Nate Chandler.
Yeah, Nate Chandler.
Yep.
So, yeah,
And
great
I'll
story.
tell you right now, if you're taking that snap, because I know it's not always the quarterback takes the snap for Smyrna, find out where 88 is.
I know.
Jalen Powell,
Yeah.
he laid some wood last in the play in the
Benny,
semifinal game.
Yeah, 93 tackles on the year,
Right.
10 for loss,
He had 2
6
sacks last
sacks.
week.
And 6 sacks on the season. He's been, look at some of the stats. I mean, Nasheem Cosme, 500 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. He's
He had
been really
2
good with his
sacks
hands.
in the semifinal game. The one from behind was a sack, but the one where he came at the quarterback face to face, that's called the fumble.
Yeah.
You know, he's just
You don't want to see him as a quarterback face to face.
Yeah, I'd come up to the line and find him first.
Yep, exactly right. You hear, Mike, whatever's the Mike, you're just going to say, there's 88.
Right.
Stay away
Right
from
away.
him.
And he's been good. Milligan's been good.
Yeah.
127 tackles.
That's an
Tyshawn
absurd
Milligan.
number, right? That is an absurd number.
He's definitely impressive. And then the offense, you got Cosme, 500 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns.
I think he's going to be a key tomorrow.
It's going to be huge, right?
Well, yeah, Kilby's been hobbling too.
He's
now
hobbling,
he's
yeah.
had 2 weeks to get it right.
Cosme through the air, only 73 passes, 645 yards, 7 touchdowns. Kilby over 1,200 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns. And John Parker is going to be another guy.
That's a guy, right? That's another name you're going to want to pay
The
attention
sophomore,
to.
he's kind of like a wide back, similar to Debo Samuel, right, for the 49ers. He'll run the ball. He'll catch the ball. He'll take the direct snap occasionally.
He's got great hands, too.
one thing
He'll
they
go up
do
and high point the ball.
Where he's been most successful is they put him in motion and then throw to him
Out the
like a
flat.
little bubble screen from motion.
It's going to be interesting because, I mean, Glenn, that defensive group for Smyrna, I think they may have the most talented group at each of the 3 levels.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it's insane what they put
It
together.
is, and we haven't even talked about the balance in the offense. 2,088 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, 2,482 rushing yards, and 32 touchdowns. And of course, a lot of that is Markel Holman. He's just been gangbusters this year. He's a tough runner, and he's like Mr. Inside. And then you got Ymir Knight, Mr. Outside,
I will
and
tell
those
ya.
two together are just a tandem that Dover's going to have their hands full.
I mean, maybe the two. We talked. There are some great 1-2 punches. We talked about the 1-2 punch that Laurel has, and
They're not even
some
punches;
Other,
they're flashes.
yeah, I mean,
Well, there's more too.
I mean,
Nick. There's more too.
I think we've almost gotten numb to to Ymir Knight and everything he's been able to do. I mean, he's a top player ever. It seems like week in and week out. We haven't really talked about him much. He'll be going to JMU, I believe, next season. I mean, it just seems like he can't be. It takes 4 or 5 guys. He's just bouncing off like a pinball out there when he gets the ball, and then Holman just running. I mean, they have one of the best combinations at running back I've seen.
And they don't stop there. Nolan Fretz, good third down possession receiver, one of Glenn's favorites for sure. 5 touchdowns on the season. And then you got emerging youngsters, Josh Gway, who will be the other guy in the backfield. Him, Holman, and Ymir Knight will take those direct snaps occasionally. Gway ends up with 3 touchdowns. Was that on the ground, I believe?
432 receiving yards, and he's also passed for 2 touchdowns. He threw for one against Middletown.
Wow.
Yeah, because he out of the Wildcat.
And Kamash Kearney, a freshman, Glenn, he's the next guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the next guys coming up for the Eagles. He's got 3 touchdowns, most of them, or if not all of them, in the second half of the season. And there's weapons abound. And a good offensive front led by Evan Blauer, who's first team All-State.
Yeah, and Jason, it kind of feels like, they had that tough loss to Middletown earlier in the year. You think, maybe Middletown could be, number 1 seed again or number 1 team again this year. Since that game, Smyrna has just gotten better and better. They're, again, I think the hottest team out of any class coming into this one, coming off that 48-0 win over Middletown. What have they shown you this year? I mean, just throughout from where you thought they were in that loss to Middletown.
Well, they've always had that good defense, right? Even early in the season, they were trying to find the offense.
Right.
They had the ground game, but they got the passing game going. And like Glenn said, very balanced now offense between the passing and the running. And that was key for them, and I think they built on it. They build off the confidence that they had from the offense, and their defense always puts them in good field position because they force punts and they always get the field position for that offense.
I mean, it seems also like for consecutive weeks there for a second, we had a pick 6 every week from the Smyrna defense in our top 10s. That's how good they have been. Again, and also Cameron Edge leaving last year, right, and going early to head over to College Park and play with the Terps. Mike, what is your kind of X factor? What do you think could be the difference here between Smyrna and Dover, or is Smyrna just too hot right now?
I think Smyrna obviously comes in as the favorite. I think Kilby is going to be the key for Dover. Can he get free? Can he?
Is he healthy?
Is he healthy? Right? Is he 100%?
You know, you talked about Benson for Sainties, and really for a lot of guys this time of year, they're all banged up. So, but to me, he's the key for Dover. I only saw Dover once this year at Sally's, and they only scored 16 points that night. But I thought their defense was pretty impressive. But I really don't know too much about Dover. I watched a few of the games on the streams and stuff, but I think Kilby's really going to be the key for me.
And Mike, the key in that Salesianum game when Dover played them was Aiden Montgomery, the punter.
Yeah.
He pinned Dover back 3 or 4 times, and that flipped the field and really helped Salesianum get that win.
I don't know that any team has. There are some good punters out there. I don't know if any team has Aiden Montgomery punting for them tomorrow.
Glenn, I don't even see any punts tomorrow.
Smyrna doesn't punt, so who doesn't?
Glenn, would you say that
they do that
the X
little
factor
rush
would be
punt thing?
Can Dover move the ball against the Smyrna defense? Can they keep up?
And if that is the X factor, do you believe they can do it?
I think they got to mix up. And you tell me what you think. I think they got to mix up. Kilby's got to have a good game. I think Parker's got to have a good game, and I think Cosme's going to have to throw the football at least a little bit to keep the defense honest.
They got to get Parker in space.
Mm-hmm.
If you get him in space, he's got the speed. But they've had trouble. They've struggled with that this year, and I don't know what the answer is to that. But Kilby's health is going to be huge tomorrow.
2 weeks of preparation could be the
He can play both
answer.
ways.
Yeah,
sure.
And the one thing we haven't brought up, and Smyrna's done it for years, ever since Coach Duty's gotten there. You were talking about Laurel, not playing everybody both ways.
Right.
Well, Smyrna has been doing that.
That's
they don't play on offense if they're on a defense.
Game changer, right? That's a big deal. I mean, how many teams do you have that can even do that?
Right, and they wear people down in the second half. Smyrna's been in. Dover played them tough the first half last time.
They did.
Wore down in the second half.
I think we all have to agree of all the games, Dover is the biggest underdog.
Yeah.
Which makes them dangerous.
Yeah,
I'm not
it
sure
does.
dangerous enough.
Yeah.
And what's up with that kangaroo? I mean,
Back to that.
You know that'll find its way into the broadcast tomorrow on the NFHS network during the Class 2A final. But again, this one, Class 3A, kickoff set for 3 o'clock p.m. at Delaware Stadium. So, guys, we've been through all 3 of the matchups. Let's just go across the board here. And, what are you looking for? Maybe, it could be a game, a moment, an X factor. Just what are you looking for tomorrow at Delaware Stadium? Can be anything from any of the 3 games, Jason. What is the one thing you're going to be paying attention to close?
I'm looking forward to defense. A lot of great defensive teams out there tomorrow. I think there's going to be some great hits, some great interceptions, some great tackles for losses. So, I'll go defense tomorrow. I think defense is going to be key.
Pat, what about you? I know your Vikings in action. You'll be in the call for a few games tomorrow afternoon and in the evening. What are you looking for tomorrow at Delaware Stadium?
Yeah, man. I mean, definitely. Honestly, I'm objective. I am. And I think anybody who's followed the program through the years will admit that. But I'm definitely anxious and excited to see how my Vikings perform in the rematch against a very difficult Laurel opponent. And then also excited for that 2A matchup, 2 undefeated teams.
I'm telling you, there's some good ones, Glenn, all across the board tomorrow afternoon. And, of course, you'll be on the call for the Smyrna-Dover game, the Class 3A final at 3 o'clock. What are you looking for tomorrow?
Well, from the broadcaster's viewpoint, we hope they're competitive games, every one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, you hope there are no blowouts. But I am also looking forward to that nightcap, the 2A battle between Tattersall and the rest of the Wilmington Friends Quakers against Caravel Buccaneers. And head coach John Reed against head coach Tattersall. I think that's going to be the most competitive game of the 3. And just looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Glenn. I agree with what Pat said. And if there's one team that could maybe disrupt that flow of that methodical Friends offense, it's that Caravel Buccaneer defense with those linebackers, that defensive line. Again, listen to some of these stats from the Bucs. They've outscored their opponents 72-6 in the playoffs, and they haven't allowed more than 1 touchdown since October. Wow. Since October. 4.9 points allowed per game. It doesn't get much better than that. And again, Robbie Tattersall maybe one of the best players in the state. You know, how's he going to be able to hold up with those 30 carries? He's been doing it great all year, that explosive offense. When we did the game in the quarters against Howard, they had, I believe it was 9 offensive plays and 3 touchdowns out of those 9 early in the game. It's going to be a fantastic matchup. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing Robbie Tattersall against that Caravel Buccaneer defense.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if people realize what a special player he is. And I don't mean to single out Robbie. You know, every year, you know, when you watch sports every year like we do, you see kids come and kids go, and then they come back and their coaches or their parents or their whatever, they're in the stands. It's just I just like the opportunity to see these guys and think like, man, I just got to watch Kasim Benson run for St. E's for the last 4 seasons, and boy, he was something special. Or you just watch. Is this the last night coming through Smyrna, or at least for now? I mean, how has it been 10 years of nights? You know, so you get something like that. You know, if you're a Dover student, you know that I don't know the last time they were in the final.
2001.
2001. So I just mentioned that earlier. You know, you'd hope Dover's one of the bigger high schools in the state. You'd hope that 1,200 or 1,500 of the students come out to Delaware Stadium and they
heck of a band
the town shows up. You know, Smyrna's going to be there. You hope that Dover shows up, and you got the red here and the blue over here. And the other schools are Laurel's a decent size, but the other schools are kind of small. St. E's, Caravel, and Friends. I'm hoping that there's several thousand people out there that like high school football that want to come out and watch. And of course, we want them to tune in on the NFHS network, but you know, it's better when there's a big crowd in the stands. You know, I know last year Archmere won their first championship in 40 years, and there were a lot of former Auks there, and a lot of students showed up, and it was really kind of neat to watch for the Auks, and I knew all those guys, so it was kind of cool for me to see that. But just get out and experience it. 4 games.
And again, as Mike mentioned, big storylines across the board. You know, different ones to pay attention to. Benny, of course, you'll be on the call for a few yourself tomorrow, making that trip up to Newark.
Yeah, first of all, I'm looking forward to this unified game. You got Newark Charter has developed. They understand flag football. They've won 2 titles.
Dynasty.
And then you got this.
could they? Yeah. Great.
Like I said, this Caesar Rodney team. My son said he's got some of his kids in his class. He said they can fly. And we saw the video of the blind hook and ladder.
Yes, that's right.
You know, so that's going to be some fun action in that game. And then, of course, I think the Class A game, it's going to be competitive. I'm thinking a touchdown difference in that game. I think it's going to be a close game. And talking to Joey Jones, he feels the same way. He says, St. E's is a good football team. And, you know, Laurel is too, but I think that game's going to be low. You know, the St. E's kids have had a taste of a championship game now, right? Yeah. You know, 3A is going to be fun to watch. It's going to be just a fast game.
It'll be entertaining.
Double A, overtime.
Overtime.
Great. That's all we want.
Lowest scoring.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Lowest scoring game of the day. They're going into overtime.
After 12 hours, we want more football at Delaware Stadium.
Those two defenses, we can see that, Jay. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think overtime.
I'm talking low scoring overtime.
Yeah, I do.
What do you think? 14-14, 7, another 14-7, 14. I mean, 14.
I'm thinking no less than 14-14 after regulation. Wow, no more than 14.
That's right up that Class 2A, right up that alley.
Because
Nick Halliday.
They've done nothing but surprise us all year anyways. Yeah. So why not one more time?
Not one more. Right.
Nick Halliday, what are you looking for tomorrow? Busy day for you as well.
All the games.
All the games.
The elevator to get on.
That is huge. There we go. The elevator.
Yeah, what's up with that kangaroo? I mean.
Well, on that note, again, we will end there at the marsupial note there with the kangaroo from Wilmington Friends. So again, we appreciate everyone tuning in tonight to check out our championship preview for tomorrow's 4 matchups at Delaware Stadium. Another reminder, you cannot buy tickets at Delaware Stadium. You have to get them online. So head on over, I believe it's gofans.com to buy your tickets for tomorrow afternoon's festivities. Again, it's going to be a good one. So for everyone here at Delaware Live Sports, for Nick Alessandrini, Jason Winchell, Pat Garanis, Glenn Frazier, Mike Lang, and Benny Mitchell, we've got some great ones for you tomorrow. You're going to get to hear at least or actually almost all of us at some point tomorrow afternoon. So make sure you tune into the NFHS Network powered by Delaware Live Sports. Action gets underway tomorrow with Unified at 10:30 a.m., then 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 6 o'clock.
And keep an eye on our YouTube page. We're going to be doing some sideline interviews.
That's right,
that we'll be posting up there today, pregame, postgame, and so we'll be popping them up during the day. YouTube will probably over Facebook.
There you go. Make sure you're looking out for all of that material. Again, we will see you tomorrow afternoon at Delaware Stadium. That'll do it for your championship preview. See you tomorrow afternoon.